hurricane, a tidal wave. Essence perfect, life looks brilliant. Give me more of this. I'm out of control, about to blow, and I've been caught in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You bury me, bury me. Yeah, you bury me, bury me. You've got me hypnotized. Push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy for the light. It's got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. Can I get you out of my hand again? Is it wrong? Is it right? It's like I've won my final war without a fight. I'm out of control, about to blow, and I've been caught in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You bury me, bury me. I know you bury me, bury me. You've got me hypnotized. Push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy for the light. It's got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. Get you out of my head. Get you out of my head. Hurricane.
Please note.
Never gonna stop, never gonna change, never gonna do the things you say. I run my own way to get there. Fools are calling and I don't seem to care. In the air, no more crowd, just the opposite kind of few clouds. So tell me the storm is coming for the sake of all your lies. Why don't you try to be wise? Now that I need you anyway. Just to feel like I'm fading. And though my heart breaks a beat down, I've got the lens just to tell you. Don't lead the way, don't even say that I don't even try to play in the rain. I feel like I'm fading.
We don't need no sleep because the party don't stop. So put your hands on me and turn me on, turn me up. We don't need no sleep because the party don't stop. So put your hands on me and turn me on, turn me up.
And boom, just like that, it's Thursday night. And you know what that means? It's party time with us. We're the Video Bros. I'm Bobby Munson, and that man beside me, he's the man with the angelic voice. He is Papa Smokes. Papa Smokes, happy Thursday. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, that was a long sustain there, Munson. Very well done. I'm doing great on this Thursday night. Happy to be here for Ring Respect Radio. As the weeks get busy, we all get tired. We all get busy with everything, but always glad to do Ring Respect Radio. This is almost like my safe place, my fun place, Munson.
Exactly. We have a hell of a time here. And just to let everybody know, some people are going to be taking some breaks around the holiday season and everything like that, which is totally cool because, I mean, it's the holidays. You got time to spend with your families. You should be doing that. But, you know, the Video Bros, our holiday seasons consist of drinking and eating good food. So we are proud to announce that on the 26th of December, Boxing Day, we're still going to be going live. So anybody wants to join us that night, we're going to be doing our next trip through the territories on that particular episode. We are going to pick a particular territory yet and let you all know what it's going to be. That's coming up very, very soon. So join us for that as we say hello to BDJ, who's up in the house.
Yeah.
And what up, boys? BDJ, how's
Woo.
it going, brother? And of course, speaking of brothers, it's Basser up in the house.
Yeah.
Good evening, fellas. What a show Saturday. And what an opportunity it was for Bass himself to finally get to bring Junior Bass to the show. I mean, Papa Smokes, I've dug deep into the editing side of things already, and I know I sent this to you. I know I've sent it over to Bass, and everybody is loving this image, but I'm just going to pop that up on screen right there. That is what PPW all about. It's all about having fun and connecting, and that's what Bass got to do with his boy at Prairie Pro. That's a kick-ass picture, by the way. I'm so glad you got that video there, Papa Smokes.
Absolutely. As soon as I saw our video, bro, Bass in the crowd with Little Bass Jr., and it was his first live wrestling show, that just gives me the good feelings. So I saw him with his little foam finger, and I said, I'm going to be back. Watch for me. I'm going to get a shot of you guys when you're cheering. And when I came over, I'll be damned, they were ready to go for me. Excellent stuff. That's what we like. One of my best shots I've ever got, probably, Munson.
Oh, it's fantastic. And you know, it's so good and it fits so perfectly with the excitement of the show that it's in the final edit for that particular matchup as well, too. So it's right before the next team gets called out and everything like that. And there's all that joy and happiness. And then, of course, our tag champs come out. We are going to talk about that in a little bit as we're going to go through the entire Prairie Pro Wrestling show. But it was the last show of the year, Papa Smokes. We won't be back until Saturday, February the 22nd, 2025. I mean, it hasn't officially been named, but I think by process of the last 2 years, I could assume that this is going to be Love is Dead Part 3 for Prairie Pro Wrestling coming up in February. And Papa Smokes, man, we ain't getting any younger, so we are currently on the lookout potentially for some young replacements to be holding the cameras down at ringside in 2025. The ball's in motion, and hopefully we can make that happen sooner rather than later.
Well, sure, that's a great idea. I still say, Munson, it's not the age, it's the mileage. It's all the miles we put on here, too. Physically, it's fine and everything like that, but it's a tough job and it's stressful, and I think it's time to train some new people on how to do this. They'll get a thrill out of it, too. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, you bet. And here's the best part. If we can make this happen, one of the next stages for you and I might even be doing live commentary. It might be broadcasting some of the Prairie Pro Wrestling shows live, possibly. These are all thoughts and things that have been discussed, and they're not out of the question. And if we can get you and I off that floor and into the right role, we may have a potential for starting to go forth with live content for the very first time from Prairie Pro Wrestling. There has been some discussions. There's a lot of things. We're always trying to up the game. That's the crazy part. And again, I feel like with this show, Seasons Beatings, we once again up the game. This is usually that show where attendance, there's 2 shows a year where attendance, you're never too sure. Like, it's right in the middle of summer when everybody's on vacation, and then right before Christmas time when people are having to spend on all sorts of Christmas gifts for friends and family and everything like that. But hot damn, Papa Smokes, that place was popping on Saturday night. We were full to the brim once again. Thank you to the PPW Nation. Again, selling the place out and bringing that electricity. It was hot all night long from start to finish. That crowd was eating up everything we put out for them.
For sure. And before we even get into the nuts and bolts of reviewing the show, it was like, I'm not really sure how to put it into words, but that Halloween show, as great as it was, as awesome of a card and as awesome as the crowd was, I was having a tough go of that show, doing the camera work and such like that. I wasn't feeling it as much as I should have been. But Seasons Beatings, I felt good at that show. And it reflected in my camera work and reflected in everything. I felt so much better during that show. It's just me, I think, but man, I had an awesome night. I enjoyed that experience so much. I enjoyed doing the camera work. That was really fun. And there are times where it's good to be in there amongst the PPW family, doing what we always do, doing what we've been doing for 5, 6 years now with all the great people around PPW and all the great fans at ringside. Awesome. I was in my element. I was on fire that night.
Yeah, and you know what? It does reflect in the video work, Pop Smokes. I've edited 6 out of the 9 matches so far, so I've only got a few more to go, and I'll have the whole event done and completed. And
Nice.
it just really does reflect, like they're, especially in the tag team match, which again we will come back and actually give a conversation about. In that matchup, I think for one of the first times ever, I used more shots from your camera than I did my own on that one in particular. The boys were working your side quite a lot, and you had some badass shots there the entire time, some very clear ones, no referees' asses getting in the shot, nothing like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of content in multiple matches where there's long stretches of the smokes cam, as I like to call it. So what I'm labeling the different camera shots when I put it into my folder, it's smokes cam and bob cam, or what the different labels are when we go into them, so I know what to line up and where to go with it all, kind of thing. But yeah, we're almost all edited. Everything's going to be ready for us to call in 2025. Of course, we still got the Halloween show to get through this holiday season. They're on YouTube. Some of the matches from that are going to be coming up at the start of the new year, and then leading into later on, probably around, I'm guessing around March, even before we'll start to see what went down at Seasons Beatings in particular. Now, I think the little opener that we did at Seasons Beatings, where we got an interesting visit from Santa Claus here, I think that one, I'm going to try to put that piece out just for Christmas Day, because it's, I mean, come on, let's not kid ourselves. But let's talk about that for a moment, because we had in the ring celebrating and talking about how they're going to be fighting champions since winning the tag team belts. It was the Short Kings having a conversation with Quicksilver and Crash Crimson, when all of a sudden the music hits and we get a visit from Santa Claus coming out looking jolly, looking happy, lots of ho ho ho, and he's got a pouch. He's ready to deliver some sort of gifts. And he gets in the ring and he gets on the mic and he says he brought a gift for everybody who was in the ring right there in front of him. And he reaches into that sack, and out comes a lump of coal for Quicksilver, a lump of coal for Crash Crimson, a lump of coal for Mars the Specialist, and a lump of coal for the Thickness Reed Matthews. We got here, Short King getting lifts for their shoes for Christmas. Funny. But yes, the lump of coals come out, and then all of a sudden, Quicksilver gets a little suspicious, and so does Mars, about the identity of Santa Claus when he gets on the microphone and says, "I want to wish you all a marvelous Merry Christmas." A little bit of a giveaway as they then pull the beard and the hat off to reveal your boy Morris Waltz was behind it the whole time, and he ended up taking a little bit of heat from all the boys in the ring there before heading straight to the backup before we got this show kicked off. I mean, it was a fun little thing to do at the start of the night. Plus, you got to hear the Short Kings talk about how they plan to be fighting champions, which I think was a good way to kick things off.
Very much so. And I think everyone was anxious to hear what the Short Kings were thinking after their tremendous victory in becoming the new and first PPW tag team champions. Wow, what an ovation they got at the Ring of Horror show. So I think it was great to have them come out, say what's on their mind, give kind of a champion's State of the Union address, so to speak. We want to defend the titles lots. We're open to anybody that wants to come in. Any of you jokers in the back want to form a team and come out here, we're ready for you. But Santa Claus had a couple of stinging barbs for them as well. Don't forget, he said, these short kings, aren't you supposed to be working in my workshop right now?
Yeah,
I got
that's
a little
right.
chuckle out of that one, but not everybody did, including Reed and Mars. So good stuff, and something nice for the holidays. It's just flavored Christmas, like a nice eggnog kind of to see Santa out there.
Yeah, it was a fun way to kick things off. And again, the crowd was enjoying it. It put everybody in a good mood. And then we get on with the wrestling. Guy in suit makes his way into the ring to a
Yeah,
standing ovation because that's what he deserves for being one of the absolute best ring announcers of all time in professional
best in
wrestling.
the biz. Yep,
That's right. He sure as hell is. I mean, I stepped in that role one time, Papa's folks, and I'll tell you, I was not at that kind of level because that kind of level,
well,
you don't get to that kind of level overnight. That's Joe is the bar that's been set.
absolutely. But with some practice months, and you could get there.
Definitely with practice, I would work my way there with my style of doing it and everything like that. But again, I don't think I could ever be better than, but I could try to get to the bar set by JG Muller because he is that damn good. As we say hello to our good boy Bobby Stats in the house.
Hey, Bobby.
Bobby, how you doing, brother? Glad you're here joining us on Ring Respect Radio as we go to talk about our first matchup. And this was an interesting one because we've seen it many times before, Pops, folks. These two were not strangers to each other. We have Bucky McGraw versus Cannonball Kelly to start things off on this particular show. And I think the thing that I want to talk about most is how we got a wrestling match out of these two individuals. This, as I'm going back and editing this, I'm looking at it going, I've seen these two one-on-one multiple times, but I haven't seen this matchup that they put on at Seasons Beatings before. And it's kind of a sleeper hit in so many ways. Watching it back a second time made me enjoy it even more than having seen it there live when they first put it on. Because from Bucky, he's a guy that's going to be a mat wrestler. He's a grappler. That's his thing. But Cannonball is a little bit more smash mouth, heavy hitting, all that kind of stuff. But Cannonball mixed it up by bringing wrestling into this matchup. And man, they had a solid wrestling match to kick things off.
Absolutely, that's a great intro for that match because wasn't that a surprise? And we always talk about the setting up of shows to have a good match first, like a solid match, a match that could be really logically on the upper part of the card, but you feature it first to get that crowd involved, to get the juices flowing in everybody. Let's see some good wrestling, and this was perfect for that. And yeah, you're right. Bucky McGraw, king of chain wrestling, likes to put those moves together. He's not giving you one hold and one move and one hold and one move. He strings them all together. It's very disorienting for his opponents. That's how Bucky's had such great success in his career. But Cannonball, could you believe the grappling skill from that guy? And you got to remember how long that Cannonball has been a wrestler. I liken it to Picasso. We all know his bizarre-looking famous art, but trust me, that guy started drawing realistic portraits of people. You change your style over time. Cannonball's perfectly comfortable doing chain wrestling, doing move after move, reversals, duck outs, all that kind of stuff. He just doesn't choose to do it very much anymore. But if you want to challenge him to that, he's up to it. And we saw that the other night at the show. He was going move for move with this smaller, quicker man, Bucky McGraw.
Yeah. And, I wanted to talk about what happened in the finish and afterwards, but before we even get there, at the start of this match, and I thought this was great, and kudos to Johnny Two Fingers, who, again, I'm going to say it the way Johnny Two Fingers deserves it, the greatest manager in Prairie Pro Wrestling, Johnny Two Fingers. He comes out and he starts pulling the manager card before this match even kicks off. He looks straight over at the Brotherhood, at those two big ass behemoths, and he says to the referee, I want to see their damn manager card, because if they don't have one, they don't belong down here. And Johnny pulls out his official manager card and shows it to the ref. The ref then boots the Brotherhood straight to the back. Johnny allowed to stay at ringside because he's an official manager. Good play by Johnny. And man, how big does Johnny have to be in the grapefruit area to stand up to the Brotherhood like that and tell those behemoths, get your asses out of here. You don't belong down at ringside.
No, that was completely awesome and so smart of Johnny Two Fingers. That guy is so clever. Didn't this remind you just a little bit of our researches into the history of Saskatchewan wrestling about the sports commissions? They would, of course, had they been there, would have been checking people's wrestling licenses, managers' licenses, and all that. Johnny's been reading his wrestling history books and watching the old videos, I think. That's one heck of a trick to pull out. And how much of a difference might that have made in that match? Not having those two giants in the corner there might have made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, in fact, it did make all the difference in the world, because Cannonball didn't have the worry of them being there. Therefore, he was able to get that victory out of that one. And then, of course, the Brotherhood then come down afterwards, and the assault happens as expected. But then the damn unthinkable happens, Papa Smokes. They lay out Cannonball Kelly, and then they go and they grab a hold of Johnny Two Fingers. And I'm standing down there at ringside as these monsters come at either side. And there's Johnny, and I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, and what do you do? Like, it's our job as cameramen to keep the camera rolling. But I'm like, I don't like where this is going at all. Like, this is sick, make me sick to my stomach. They carry Johnny into that ring, and he starts throwing them. He starts trying to throw haymakers the way of the Brotherhood to defend himself. But as he's doing it, Bucky springs to his feet and boots Johnny right across that damn ring, from one side of the ring to the other. The boot of Bucky McGraw. It was like he kicked a football, Papa Smokes. Like, I was sincerely worried for our good friend Johnny Two Fingers on that one.
Same. And I got to say that in all my time working camera at ringside during PPW, there's been, I would estimate, 3 or so times where I've felt like, should I intervene here physically? Because this is getting bad. This is getting really bad. There's a couple in the past where I just thought, this is awful. Like, I got to step in here and do something. This was one of those times. Again, I know my place in the PPW hierarchy. I'm not going to step in personally, because I've got to be the cameraman. My business is to stay out of their way. But this is one of those times, man, I wanted to help Johnny. I know that him and Cannonball have had a little change of heart. They've been a little bit different recently, been a little more outspoken, a little more abrasive. But seeing those two giants against small little Johnny Two Fingers with his cane and everything, it turns your stomach. And it was really one of those moments where I wanted to help out. But what could I have done, Munson? What could you have done? We would have got ourselves also injured in the situation.
You bet. Yeah, that's where the issue lies. As a human being, you kind of want to get in there and do something for the poor guy, but it's wrestling, Papa Smokes, and the show goes on, and we cannot.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd essentially just be taking a bullet, and then likelihood is there's still going to be that inflicted injury to Johnny right after we take the bullet first, kind of thing. So we are having a great day, Bobby, especially now that we're here on the show. You're here in the chat with us, having a lot of fun talking PPW, my friend. Let's talk about this next match here, Papa Smokes. And this is the match that I personally have been waiting for a while. We've had both these guys talk about the potential of stepping in the ring together for quite some time on our show here. I'm talking about Morris Waltz versus Riley Cruz. The two that came up, they had their academy matchup to start things off against each other. That was back in, I believe, like April, a year and a half or so ago kind of time. Since then, both of them have had their own paths, their own trajectories. picking up wins against some good names in the business as well, too. Finally, we're going to see what have they learned since match number 1 with marvelous Morris Waltz and Riley Cruz. And I got to tell you, Papa Smokes, they didn't disappoint. This was a great match. Riley had a comical shirt on that got the crowd popping. He was full of his typical energy, but man, Morris has just gotten better since that very first time that these two locked up. And this match was not only solid, but you could just see it in Waltz's eyes. Like he was hungry for it. He wanted it so badly. He needed it to prove that he is going nothing but up as well, too, to not only himself, but to the rest of the Prairie Pro Wrestling roster as well. He needed to get this victory over Riley.
Agreed. And I always think of these two, Riley Cruz and Morris Waltz, as like, it's a built-in rivalry. It's a built-in feud. It doesn't matter what else is going on, all the little stories and all the little rivalries and feuds that go on in PPW, but this is the one that's like meant to be because it's built into their entire wrestling experience that they trained together. They came up together. They're friends, I think, a little bit behind the scenes, but they're rivals also. And each one of those guys wants to be the next new big thing in PPW. Cruz is determined to do it. He's got the fans behind him. He's got the cool song, the head banging and the long hair. He's awesome. Everybody likes him. He's a big dude and he's very agile. Can use those aerial maneuvers as well. Awesome. Morris Waltz, different style, more of a striking style. But this guy also has come out with a swagger and a confidence over the past, let's even just say half year or so. Waltz is looking like he's ready to take that next step up the card. But still, this rivalry remains. Cruz and Waltz. Which one's actually better? Which one's maybe more likely to become a star in PPW first? Which one's more likely to put himself into the championship picture first? This is the big question. And this is why this match, for me, is always exciting and always gold for me.
Yeah, it really is. And again, I can attest to the fact that these two have done a lot recently. Like, they're getting bookings all over the place outside of Prairie Pro Wrestling, over in Alberta. I know Riley's even gone to Manitoba as well, too. And if I'm not mistaken, out maybe even to BC. Like, Riley is getting out there. Morris is getting out there. And we didn't get a clear resolution because Morris picked up the victory. I mean, these guys are technically 1-1 at this point in time, Pop Smokes. Neither one of them getting a clear advantage over the other. I mean, the fans obviously clearly like Riley Cruz, but they know just how dangerous Morris Waltz is. And as that confidence in him begins to grow, I imagine he's going to become a lot harder to deal with inside a professional wrestling ring.
Yeah, I think so too. And as much as the fans like Riley Cruz, I think a lot of those fans want to like Morris Waltz, but it's hard to like someone who doesn't care what you think whatsoever, right? And Morris Waltz blows off the fans. He mocks the fans. He's so above the fans that he doesn't care. So a lot of them don't like him, but there's a good chunk of that audience. They want to like him.
Yeah, they sure do. As Bobby was saying, I had it up on the screen. He'd open the companies in America, take a look at Riley Cruz, maybe MLW, TNA in 2020. That'd be fantastic. I hope those kind of things for anybody working in Prairie Pro Wrestling. Basser says, do you guys think there will ever be new managers in PPW? And if so, where does one get a manager's license?
Yeah.
Well, again, there's got to be that commission somewhere, Papa Smokes. I mean, either that or maybe you just know how to talk to the right people and get it forged. Maybe Johnny delivers the licenses. Johnny might be the one printing those damn licenses. I mean, maybe you got to talk to Johnny. I'm not sure. Can I attest to will there ever be? Maybe. Maybe there's already been discussions. Maybe we were only that close to having a potential managerial situation at Seasons Beatings had somebody had some last minute things that made it so they couldn't make it to Seasons Beatings. There was somebody, Papa Smokes, that originally was planned for Seasons Beatings that could be part manager, part in-ring worker potentially. So I don't want to give anything away because that could still be on the docket for 2025. But unfortunately, it didn't unfold at Seasons Beatings, so you will have to wait until a later date. And Bobby's saying hello to Basser. So yes, going on from there, we got our third match of the night, and we get the Dixie Dragon taking on the Rhinestone Cowboy, Stephen Crow, Pop Smoke. Obviously, this was going to be a night of now the Brotherhood and the Clandestine Society still have that beef with each other after that tag title matchup that the Short Kings came out of. And there's still that rivalry that they need to settle before either one of those teams can start taking a look at the Short Kings and making a claim to going after the tag team titles. So we start off with Dixie Dragon and the Rhinestone Cowboy. Again, the fans absolutely love Stephen Crow. It's infectious. His whole entrance is infectious. The crowd loves him. They get behind him, and he feeds off that energy of the PPW crowd. It's what carries him through a lot of these fights, especially with a big guy like Dixie Dragon. But I gotta also say, Dixie Dragon, he looks like he's gone and trimmed up a little bit recently, Pop Smokes. He looks more dangerous than he's looked ever before because now he looks a little bit more agile, a little bit quicker, a little bit more dangerous. We already know he's experienced inside a professional wrestling ring, and we know that he has no soul and he's willing to go and hurt anybody standing in his path. But now he's going to add a little bit of speed and agility to that mix. And I'm thinking, watch out, world, because the Dixie Dragon is clearly coming to put his best foot forward in PPW yet.
Yeah, that's a good point you make because we've seen the Dixie Dragon, Munson, for years and years around here. Ever since I've been going to the live matches in Saskatoon, I've seen the Dixie Dragon in various tag team combos and as a singles wrestler at all. But Father Time has been very kind to the Dixie Dragon. He looks the same as more than 10 years ago when I first started going to these matches. He looks exactly the same, except maybe even in better shape now. We know this guy's just mentally a little bit unbalanced. He's mean. He's a sadist. He likes to hurt people. I mean, that's the only way to put it, really. So when you have a match against the Dixie Dragon, you not only have to worry about winning that match, you have to worry about him hurting you or injuring you in some way, possibly permanently. Plus, he's got that green-colored mist that he sprays out from his mouth, which can blind you, leave you very vulnerable to further attack. So, yeah, always a dangerous opponent. Now, we've seen a few of these tag team split-apart matches where we've seen just singles matches with the Brotherhood and the Clandestine Society, and then previous we've seen both members of the Brotherhood separately fight both Short Kings as well. But this time, now we've got the Short Kings as tag team champions, and the other two teams that didn't win in that three-way dance or Ring of Horrors, they're going to fight each other in singles matches. So I kind of like these. It's not making the big tag team match yet, but it's letting these two teams get a feel for each other in the ring in singles matches. It's a little bit interesting for the fans, but you know that these wrestlers are going to work some stuff out in these matches too, where they're going to say like, yeah, we're not wrestling as a tag team tonight, but I'm going to kick your ass and show you who's boss around here. You know that was Dixie Dragon's complete mindset going into this match against Stephen Crow.
Yeah, you bet. Dixie Dragon ends up picking up the win after interference from Jacob Creed. After the interference from Creed and the loss to the Rhinestone Cowboy, Michael Richard Blaze gets down there to make sure that no further damage is done towards the Rhinestone Cowboy. So a good save there from Blaze. Unfortunately, though, Dixie Dragon stealing the win with the assistance of Jacob Creed in this one. Moving on from there, Papa Smokes, we had the return of Rich King, Mr. RK Athletics, to the ring. He was taking on Tommy Gallivan in this matchup. And again, Rich King comes back, looks sharp. He is good in-ring worker, a damn good in-ring worker. Last time out, we saw him against Lumberjack Larry Woods, picked up a big victory there. Comes out this time looking even more confident than he did the previous time because, again, with those wins comes more confidence, comes more swagger, and you could just see it in the step of Rich King. But Tommy Gallivan, let's not rule him out. He had that big win against Morris Waltz at the last event at the Ring of Horrors. He's been on a roll. Tommy Gallivan, again, too, I've talked to him before the show, has been hitting the gym a lot more regularly. He's trying to put on the muscle mass there and trying to really commit even harder to his already hard work ethic that he puts in for PPW. So again, I was curious to see just where this went and what a match it was. It was solid. Again, this was showing that Tommy is really up in his game quite a bit, but Rich King has got a rich experience about him as well too, over in Alberta and traveling around. He has had a lot of matches with a lot of guys, and this was no different. He got in there, he played his cards right, he got that big victory, and remains undefeated in singles competition for Prairie Pro Wrestling.
And isn't that interesting for one of our relative newcomers, Rich King, to be making a splash in PPW the way he is? Now, he comes out, Rich King, looking like $1 million. I mean, is this guy put together or what? And if you follow him on any social media, you know that he takes his workout regimen very, very seriously. Not only his, he will plan one out for any clients that want to sign up with him too. This guy lives and breathes exercise and diet and fitness. And wow, what a body. Those legs, Munson. Boy, he looks like a wrestler with those big legs. But beyond his physical gifts, he comes in with, like you say, that experience, a bunch of years of working the road all up and down Western Canada, the prairies, and probably all over Canada, but working different opponents every night. That's how wrestlers get their chops. I think Tommy Gallivan has done a little bit of that, but not nearly as experienced as Rich King. And King, you can see he's starting to feel more comfortable in PPW. He's talking to the fans. He's got the swagger. He's not worried about the referee. He's not worried about any of that. I think Rich King is starting to settle down and feel very much at home in PPW. And I think all other PPW singles wrestlers should be on notice because this guy's got a couple of wins now. And it might not be long till he puts himself in a contender's position for the championship of PPW. So all you other wrestlers, you better watch it. Rich King is here to stay.
Yeah, he really is making his mark. Next up, we had Michael Richard Blaze taking on Jacob Creed. Again, going back to the other side of the tag teams in the rivalry between the Brotherhood and the Clandestine Society. I mean, a little bit of history here as well, too. And when it comes to Prairie Pro Wrestling, now, if not a lot of people are aware, Jacob Creed, when he had his issues with Michael Allen Richard Clark in his first run with us, Papa Smokes, we had a little show called 4 Rounds to the Crown before we were shut down for pandemic purposes. This was the start of the Prairie Pro Wrestling tournament to get our first champion crowned. And again, all sorts of things happened that changed the whole trajectory of where we were going with the whole thing. Like guys who were still technically in the tournament got injured, couldn't compete, were taken out. People were put in because that's just the nature of pro wrestling, especially when we had to take a couple of year hiatus in the process. But if you remember back, there was a matchup between Michael Allen Richard Clark and Michael Richard Blaze in the first round of Prairie Pro Wrestling's 4 Rounds to the Crown. And the only reason that Michael Allen Richard Clark won that matchup was due to interference from Jacob Creed. Jacob Creed wanted Clark to remain in that title tournament. He wanted to get his hands on him one more time after their no DQ, no sanction fight that they had at the previous event. He wanted that opportunity, so he found a way to keep Clark in it by going in and making sure that Michael Richard Blaze got disqualified, and it cost Michael Richard Blaze. So all this time, Blaze has never had an opportunity for retribution one-on-one with Jacob Creed for that moment in time. Again, I don't even know if these two, if that's been lingering in their brains ever since that day. But as they walked out there, Papa Smokes, it came back to me, and I'm like, damn, there is some bad blood outside of the tag division between these two individuals, and it is going to unleash into something solid, and something solid it did. This matchup was one of the top matchups on this card. These two put it all on the line, very smashed mouth against each other. Blaze trying to use his speed, but then Jacob Creed with that physicality coming in with the beatdown time and time again on Blaze, but Blaze doesn't quit. He fights back and he fights back, and then he gets the momentum going in his favor. Back and forth they go. Then all of a sudden we see Dixie Dragon come out. We're thinking, oh, great, here we go, the Brotherhood again. But then Rhinestone Cowboy comes out and he connects a knee right to the face of the Dixie Dragon. And again, back and forth until finally the referee says, enough's enough, guys. This is not this isn't a tag match. We can't have this. And it gets called a no contest. And maybe not a lot of people like that, but I think that when you're talking about two of the top people in Prairie Pro Wrestling, a lot of bad blood, a lot of things that need to be settled, I don't mind that this ended in no contest, because I don't mind the idea of us revisiting this matchup not in the not too distant future.
Oh, the best thing about a match ending that way is the promise of the future too, and you can see it's not over between Dixie Dragon and the Cowboy, nor Blaze and Creed. So here we have Blaze versus Creed. Good of you to bring up their past, because as I was filming their entrances, Creed comes out without a lot of emotion, but Blaze comes out. He looked grumpy. There's no other way to put it. And God, he's got that driving, grinding, scary music. Kind of what an entrance he always makes. And you could see that he was dead serious, probably not only with other issues from the past in his mind, but also the last match at Ring of Horrors. I could see why Blaze and Crow might justifiably think that the Brotherhood helped to screw them out of their tag team title opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Could have easily been the clandestine society that walked away with those belts, but the Brotherhood and the Short Kings weren't having it that night. So you can see things not settled between these two tag teams, and the fact that they were in a singles match just really hit that home. And Blaze and Creed having that matchup, such a difference in size, but again, not such a difference in experience. Both these guys have been around the block in Canadian and American wrestling a number of times. So it just came to, it was going to be it was going to prove to be the winner would be the guy who could just prevail over his opponent, whether Blaze could get over on the big guy or whether Creed could use his strength and experience to put Michael Richard Blaze down. Blaze ain't going down so easily. The guy will not die. The guy will not give up. So eventually, with some jostling of the ref and various rules being broken repeatedly, I know that no referees want to make the decision of that no one wins in this match, but really his hands were tied in this case. That's the only ruling that could have been made. So again, it suggests what might be in the future. This isn't over, and we're going to need more wrestling action to settle this.
Yeah, you bet. And again, when you think about it now, too, two paths to the titles in Prairie Pro Wrestling have now been hindered for Michael Richard Blaze at the hands of Jacob Creed. So this is far from over. Can't wait. We're going to have an awesome 2025 with these kind of feuds just brewing here, Papa Smokes.
Oh, yeah.
All right, from there, because we got a lot to talk about still, we got another 4 matches. There were 9 matches on this card, by the way. 9 matches. So now up next, we've got right before the intermission, the tag team titles are on the line. The very first defense of the Short Kings as they go up against a guy we just had a conversation with about a week ago here, Papa Smokes. The son of Kosovo, Barat Karani, and his tag team partner all night, Levi Knight. Yes, they said we'll even fight anyone who puts together a makeshift team in the back. And these 2 guys clearly got together. And we've seen Barat do this with multitude of partners in Prairie Pro Wrestling already. Obviously his 2 most successful ones so far have been with Amir Jordan and with Sheik Akbar Shabaz. But Sheik clearly going to be in a title match later in this night in the main event. So unable to go call upon him. So he goes to another guy who's been highly successful in Prairie Pro Wrestling in the form of All Night Levi Knight. And I thought they're both good, but can they work together in this matchup, especially against the tight-knit team of the Short Kings? We know how good they are as a team and how well they're going to do in this type of match. Yes, as always, they're giving up the height. They're giving up the size. But that has never been something that the Short Kings haven't been able to overcome with their ability as a team. This was no different. Again, at first, Levi Knight and Barak Karani looked great, used their height, used their strength and everything like that to keep the Short Kings grounded, keep them over to one side of the ring, cutting off the ring. Very classic move by these 2 guys as they got along quite a bit. But I think that it was the audience. I think the audience started to get to Levi Knight. He played too much into the audience, which gave that window of opportunity for the Short Kings to bounce back, gain control of this matchup, and ended up having a very successful title defense. Now, the biggest takeaway here, Bubba Smokes, I can't even re-mention on this program, but at the start of this matchup, the arrogance of Levi Knight led to a test of strength situation where a new PPW chant occurred that, again, will not be repeated here. You can wait to see the tape of it when it happens. And it also led to one of the funniest reactions from it when Mars the Specialist played very well into what was being said by the PPW crowd that night. Basser saying Barat is quickly becoming my favorite performer in PPW. He's fantastic. I bet he has mentioned it. Oh, nothing like taking your kid to a first PPW show and already he's asking about the chant that the crowd had for that matchup. Papa Smokes, your thoughts on this one?
Well, I'm not even going to go near that chant because you've kind of been suggestive enough about it, and the chant itself was quite suggestive. But this was kind of an intriguing match. I found Barat Gorani and Levi Knight to be like a mismatched pair of socks, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, just not used to seeing them team together. Physically, they look good together. They're both tall, big, strong guys. You could see how this might work in a way, but it was just the personalities weren't going to work. Not nearly good enough to be a team that can challenge a machine like the Short Kings. You could kind of see the body language on Barat Gorani when they came out. He was kind of like, yeah, I'm not too sure about this. Levi Knight is in his own world the whole time. I don't think Levi Knight cares about any other people. He's doing the Regina nightclub disco dancing. He's got his moves. He's got his entrance. He's got all that stuff. I don't think he was concentrating on tag teamwork at that time. And I think Barat could feel that as well. And I think this is just another little stop on Barat's journey. But as per our conversation with him last week, he's got something else on his mind. He's got something planned out in his mind for the future, his and maybe a few other people's minds, in terms of that whole tag team situation. And if that comes to fruition, now we're going to see Barat Gorani in a very successful tag team. You know what I'm talking about here, Munson. Paralira, Garani, and Sheik Shabaz, who have had tremendous success in other areas of Canada for other companies, have had one match with PPW that was, oh my God, awesome, tremendous, and so destructive with that finishing maneuver, that controversial finishing maneuver known as murder, which is just absolutely devastating. So I think Garani is really just biding his time at this point, getting some experience in. You know that that's still a valuable match for Garani if he's got his eyes on the tag team championships. Anytime you can get in there with the championships, sorry, with the champions and have a match, you're scouting them the entire time. You're getting a feel for their rhythm, how they move, what moves they do, how often they tag, when they tag, what they do. All of that is going, soaking into Gorani's mind, and you know that he's just scouting, planning, forming game plans for the future. 2025, once again, Munson, we're going to see some good stuff in PPW. I just know it.
Yeah, we really are. We're going to be in for a treat. Three more to talk about, Pop Smokes. Up next, we had El Asesino, the winner of the TLC match, taking on everybody's favorite, at least Saskatoon's favorite wrestler, Uncle Phil Deadly. And again, Phil Deadly put up one hell of a match here. He put up a fight against
Always.
the Mexican Devil, and he, on multiple occasions, seemed to have the number of El Asesino. But again, El Asesino has been on a different level as of late. He's really been bringing his A game. Not only that, he is more pissed off than I have ever seen him in his entire career, Papa Smokes. And a pissed off El Asesino is a dangerous El Asesino. And we're going to get right to the meat of the matter. El Asesino picks up the victory over Phil Deadly, but that's not where it stops. He decides it's chair time once again. He comes in with the steel chair, smashes it across the back of Phil Deadly, and then he goes to wrap it around Phil's neck. And this is, again, one of those times where I'm like, come on, man. We've seen Phil injured recently. I don't need to see Phil getting all kinds of messed up here again. Please, for the love of God, somebody do something about this already, once and for all. And then lo and behold, Michael Allen Richard Clark, the guy who went toe-to-toe with the Mexican Devil in that TLC match, one of the most hellacious matches we've ever seen here in Saskatoon, especially in Prairie Pro Wrestling, comes out, saves Phil Deadly, and you can tell that heat between those two individuals, it's still there. That madness between, it's never going to go away. That is one rivalry.
I know.
It doesn't matter what you do to those guys, until the day one or both of them retire, they will never be able to be in a locker room and get along.
Yeah, I have to agree with you 100% on that one. And how wild it was to see Asesino come out after that TLC match, more than a month after that match, and just think, God, he can still walk. Like, he can still climb into that ring, because that was complete insanity, that match. When Asesino got covered in steel chairs at the beginning of the thing, I mean, Michael Allen Richard Clark went hog wild on Asesino and still couldn't get the pinfall in that match. The Mexican Devil pulling another trick out of his bag of tricks and somehow managing to get the win in that. Now he's in a match against very sturdy competition in Phil Deadly, one of Saskatoon's most popular wrestlers by a long shot. Excuse me, and someone that you're going to have to be able to handle if you want to get into that upper echelon of PPW. And boy, Phil wasn't going to let it go easily. Phil's got so much skill, he's got an interesting blend of styles. He told you in that interview that he had trained in lucha, and he's trained in all kinds of different styles. You can see that when you watch a Phil Deadly match. He pulled it all out against El Asesino. But like you said, Asesino these days seems like he's laser focused. He's even more dangerous than he usually is. And he was able to pull this one out against Phil Deadly.
It really is. And again, who knows if that Rivalry is going to heat up again between Michael Allen, Richard Clark, and El Asesino. Only time will tell. But two more to talk about. Up next, we had WWE's ID'd Canadian, the first and only Canadian to be given the WWE ID. Zoe Sager returns to Prairie Pro Wrestling to take on T.Y. Jackson, who we saw put up a hell of a match at the Ring of Horrors against Sheik Akbar Shabaz for the championship. Again, T.Y. all of a sudden has become a major fan favorite. When he first came to PPW, the fans resented him. They did not care for T.Y. Suddenly, all that flair, that zazz, that style that T.Y. has, plus the hell of a good worker he is inside that ring, has made him connect to the PPW Nation, and they love the guy. Now, it's kind of a weird world with Zoe, because it's almost like the Morris Walt situation, but almost on a bigger level, because as soon as they announce Zoe Sager, the fans are out of their seats. They're cheering. They're like, yeah, there she is. That's the star of the future that is going to get signed by the WWE most likely. But Zoe's having none of it. And she's going in there, and she was meaner than I've ever seen her, Papa Smoke. She picked out two young ladies in the audience, two little girls sitting there, and she berated them. She called them a couple of crybabies. And in fact, one time during this match, when she didn't get the 3 count on TY, she sat straight up and looked them straight in the face and said, "This is all your fault." It's what she said to those two little girls. Great matchup between these two. Zoe Sager picking up a very big win here as well. Again, continuing the streak of many wins that Zoe Sager has racked up in her time with Prairie Pro Wrestling. Somebody who also hasn't been to the dance with the Prairie Pro Wrestling champion yet, Papa Smokes. And after another big win over the person who came toe-to-toe with Sheik last time, I'd imagine Zoe Sager, for as long as she's still available to Prairie Pro Wrestling, is going to start knocking at management's door saying, where the hell is her opportunity at PPW Gold?
I would think so, because she's only overachieved in PPW the whole time she's performed for us. And much congratulations out to her on her great news, getting the WWE ID contract, one of the few people in Canada that have gotten one yet. We're so proud. Yeah, only. Okay, yeah. We're so proud that she's affiliated with PPW. Wish her all the best. But as long as we could get her to keep performing here, we will, because she's so talented and she makes such an impression with the crowd. And yes, they want to like her also, because of she's got a lot of charisma and she's seeing a lot of success. And it's also like seeing someone who's just got accepted into a major sports league draft or something, like you go to your local football game or your local hockey game and think, this guy's going to the big dance right away. Same thing with Zoe. It's an exciting situation. So fun to have her on the shows. And against T.Y. Jackson, what an excellent opportunity this is, because I've been loving T.Y.'s work ever since we've been having him in PPW. Excuse me. He's a big athletic guy, but he's an excellent ring technician as well. Plus, he's got kind of some zany personality to him too. He's funny, and the crowd takes to him. So this is just a perfect match to have at this stage of the card, semi-main event type thing, where you can really feature two of the wrestlers you'd like to have in the future of the championship situation in PPW, have them face off against each other. What a show these two put on. An excellent match. As much as they were fighting against each other, you can see that they have a little bit of chemistry in there. They were really making some great stuff happen. And Zoe pulling out the win, whether the fans love her or hate her, it's still exciting to watch her get a nice pinfall victory in PPW.
You bet. Now it's that time, Papa Smokes. It's time to talk about the main event of the evening. This match was scheduled for one fall. And it's for the PPW Heavyweight Championship. And it is Sheik Akbar Shabaz, the formerly longest reigning PPW, it's still, I guess, technically to this day, the longest reigning PPW champion in history, and the only 2-time Prairie Pro Wrestling champion in history, defending against the man who won the Costume Battle Royal over at the Ring of Horror show, Michael Allen Richard Clark. And of course, we knew this was going to be a top-notch match. These two did go one-on-one recently, a few shows ago for the title, and Sheiky, again, by hook or by crook, found his way out, and we would see those shenanigans come into play again. He will stoop to anything to hold on to that gold. And you saw him. He took out the brass knucks. He knocked out every referee that was available to us at one point during this matchup. Sheiky was trying everything to hold on to that championship, but there was a fire inside of Michael Allen Richard Clark there tonight. That night, Papa Smoke, you could see it in his eyes every time that he sprung back to life and thought, not today. I am not letting this SOB pull this on me. I am not walking out of here with another loss to this guy again. And he fought back, and he fought back hard, and eventually 1, 2, 3, and congratulations to the new Prairie Pro Wrestling champion of the world, Michael Allen Richard Clark. Congratulations to Michael Allen, one of the top names in professional wrestling here in Canada, coming up and taking the title off of Sheik Akbar Shabaz. Again, a big night, a huge victory, and the fans went home happy. They were electric for this win, much like when Colton won the belt. They were electric for that, but they were electric, and they knew this time around, like with Michael Allen Richard Clark, Sheiky might come back for that opportunity, but Michael Allen Richard Clark has got that level of experience, and he's been around PPW, and he's been around the Sheik long enough that I think the fans believe that this is their guy moving forward. They're feeling that this is their guy moving forward at this point.
Oh, yeah, they believe it all right. But first of all, I want to show off my item that I got from the Sheik in Garage.
Jack Juicy, a certified beauty.
That's the new coolest shirt around, that's for sure. But
sold a lot of those that night, didn't they?
Yeah, very much so. And but this match, the Sheik versus Clark, is just, this is one of our best WrestleMania main event matches. This is one of the best matches that the fans could hope for in PPW, because when the Sheik came in, the people didn't like him. He's arrogant. He talks down to them and everything, and he marched his way to the belt right off the bat and then held a stranglehold on that title for well over a year and a half at least. And during that time, you could kind of sense the frustration in Michael Allen Richard Clark. He was doing good. He was winning his matches. He's always looking good, but he just couldn't really string it together to get into that title picture. And he had of course, he had his problems with El Asesino constantly interfering in his business, constantly coming up behind him with the chair and laying those chairs across the back. Oh, that sounds like a shotgun going off next to your head, just wailing on him with those chairs. So Clark has had that frustration. He's been waiting now years since PPW has started. The fans recognize Clark as one of the top, if not the top wrestler in PPW. He's so popular. He's beloved by those fans. Yet you could sense his frustration all this time. Can I get to the belt? Can I make it there? Can I win it? Can I defend it? I want to do it for the people. I want to do it for myself. But the stars just didn't really align in all that time. Plus, he had different feuds going on. He had different dance partners. He had different opponents. Not to mention the specter of El Asesino constantly over his shoulder with that steel chair. So I think the fans were sharing in that frustration, thinking, is our beloved guy ever going to make it there? Is he ever going to make it there? He had a title shot a year ago, and the Sheik managed to get himself out of that situation, and Clark was frustrated again. Now you got to start over, string together a few more wins, get the attention of the championship committee in PPW so that they'll name you number one contender. You can get that shot. It's a lot of work. And Michael Allen Richard Clark has gone through that. He's walked through hell. He's gone on his hero's journey and made it all the way back around to the Sheik. And this time, what a match. A wonderful match. So exciting. So many different false finishes, but in a good way, that it was like, oh my God, I can't believe that wasn't the end of the match, but I'm glad because I want to see more. And then the first referee goes down. He ain't getting up. Second referee comes out. Now he's down. He ain't getting up. And the Sheik's cheating. And the Sheik's doing all his nefarious tactics. And then finally, third referee comes out. This is the time. Sheik can't get away with it anymore. Goodness and righteousness is going to prevail. Michael Allen Richard Clark gets that 3 count. And did you do the same thing on camera as I did? I filmed that pinfall, and then I just turned around to the crowd because it exploded. Kaboom! With cheering. My God, what an ovation. It was huge. It was emotional. It was completely awesome. And another one of those live wrestling moments in the Cosmo Hall that I'll never forget and that I'll think of always when I watch the matches going forward from here.
And see, I saw that you had that crowd shot going there, Papa Smokes, and that was right as they were handing the belt over to Michael Allen Richard Clark. So I wanted to make sure I captured that moment first with Michael Allen getting the belt. And then as I saw that you had done your round with the fans, then I turned and got some of them as well, too, just shortly after that. But we will have the fan footage. We've got the footage of Michael Allen Richard Clark getting the belt handed to him, and he's our new champion. That is the man at the top now for Prairie Pro Wrestling moving into 2025. So we're going to see where that goes. We're going to see what's up for February. Who is Michael Allen going to have his first title defense against? Who will the Short Kings go up against next? What is going to unfold in the tag picture with the Brotherhood, the clandestine side? So many questions and a lot of fun answers coming their way. Hold on, BDJ saying, speaking of championships, when is the next trivia night, or is Ed Fry scared of BDJ? All right, BDJ, because you weren't here earlier, here obviously. Next Thursday night, or did I even mention? No, I mentioned about Trip Through the Territories. I'll let you off the hook. No, next Thursday night is going to be trivia night. It's the WTF Do We Know About Wrestling Christmas special trivia, and Mike the Ref is our very special guest host for the evening. So Mike the Ref of Backbreaker Media, Backbreaker Wrestling, Backbreaker Gaming, all of those Backbreaker channels is going to be right here for the very first time on Ring Respect Radio hosting. He has come up with the questions. He's got the answers. We don't know them in advance. Myself and Papa Smokes will be there live. I believe Ed is going to possibly be joining us along with Andre and some others from OLE. I am working on finding out the final names to see who's going to be on screen. But BDJ, the Twitch Chat Championship will be on the line. Again, same with the YouTube Championship. So everybody make sure that you're here next Thursday night to be able to partake in that. And then, of course, the week after, we're going to be taking that trip through the territories with you guys on Boxing Day. It's going to be a hell of a good time. But, you know, we've got another great show coming up here on the channel, Papa Smokes. It's going to be the Honor Ramble coming up in about an hour's time. So make sure you come back to join Auntie Collins and Kimmy Sokol right here on our local establishment, where you're going to be able to check out the Honor Ramble. Or again, OLE podcast. That ticker's been going along the whole show. Check us out on all social media, as well as YouTube and Twitch. If you're watching on replay here on YouTube, leave us a comment, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell. And that ticker's been going the whole show because it doesn't cost me a damn thing. But this one here is the most expensive ticker on the planet. It's the Papa Smokes ticker. Papa Smokes, tell them where you're at.
All right, man. I can be found on Elon Musk's free speech wonderland known as X. I am at smokes_Papa. I'm also on Twitch at Papa_Smokes_.
That's where you'll find Papa Spokes. For myself, over the X, it's at Real Bobby Munson. Instagram at Threads at Video Bros SK. Twitch, it's Video Bro _ Bobby Munson. And Blue Sky, it's at Bobby Munson. Blah, 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 blah. No, not actually blah, 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 but you can read for yourselves. It's right there on the screen. But yes, check me out on all the socials. Reach out to myself, 2OLE Podcast, any of us here. We'd love to hear from you. And again, what do I got coming up? Well, we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it or not, but potentially TNA's post-show tomorrow night, depending on if I get to watch it or not. I will be back here Sunday with the boys doing some point of view, talking the week in sports, NFL predictions, which Mark's so goddamn in the lead at this point. I pretty much have lost it. I'm going to be dumping the damn ice bucket on my head in February, but it doesn't mean I'm going to roll over. And we also got exciting news. Next season of the NFL, we're going to be redoing this, but every single one of us is going to be playing for ourselves. So Ed, Andre, myself, Mark are all individually going to be playing, along with the viewers having their opportunity to play as well too. So check us out, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Point of View. And then, of course, myself, Papa Spokes, every Saturday with a brand new match here on Prairie Pro Wrestling for you. And we got, of course, the last 2 Saturdays of the month, Papa Spokes, the very special Best of Prairie Pro Wrestling editions, where you and I pick some of our favorite matches from over the last 12 months on the YouTube side of things. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be great. Coming back for the Honor Ramble, it's also going to be great. That's it for myself, Bob Smokes. We will see you next Thursday night for trivia. Till then, take care, everybody.